How to score well in IELTS speaking. Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to highlight the top 3 tips you can utilize to score well in the speaking part of the IELTS exam. So, without further ado, let's begin. Before I get onto the tips guys, there is a question that I would like to answer that I've been getting in my email from quite a few of you students who have been watching my videos through YouTube. So students have been asking me how should they prepare for the exam. It's only 1 week away, it's only a few days away, and they don't have no idea how to prepare for it. At this stage in time, when the exam is only a few days or maybe a week or let's say even a month away, you basically have 3 options. Number 1 is to simply give up on the fact that you're going to get a good score in either one of these. So simply give up and don't even try. But from my opinion, you would not be here in case you were going to go with that option. So I'm going to assume that you will not go this way. Number 2 is guys, you prepare by yourself, you study on your own. Studying on your own can get kind of tricky guys, because first of all, you will have to find the best material that is available on the internet among all of the stuff that is out there, and most of them provide the wrong information. So that is not going to help a lot. Secondly, even if you have found the right stuff and even if you've been practicing and putting in a lot of time and effort into it, if you don't have the appropriate supervision, if there's nobody guiding you on how you should approach this question and how you should attempt that, then there's a good chance that you've been practicing the wrong thing. So you might get perfect, but perfect in the wrong stuff, and that is not going to help a lot in the exam. So even if you've been putting in a lot of hours, a lot of practice into preparing for PT or IELTS, there's still a chance that you will not get the score that you were expecting. So it might lead to a lot of disappointment, so be aware of that. The third option, and the one which is best in my opinion, is to study with a teacher. Guys, find someone who has got a good track record, and that is the important part. They have to have a good track record. They have to be able to prove to you that okay, they can get the outcome that you're looking for. Find someone experienced who can help you with your exam. They can give you a step-by-step guidance on exactly what to expect and how to prepare for your exam. Preparing with a teacher is going to reduce your study time by months, and it can reduce your stress by leaps and bounds, guys. So find someone who knows how to get what you are looking for. Getting back to the IELTS speaking. So the IELTS speaking test is basically a one-on-one interview with the examiner, kind of like a job interview, but in this case, they are going to ask you random questions. So basically just random stuff, trying to evaluate your level of language. Now the speaking is basically divided into 3 parts, where the first part is general questions, second is the cue card, and number 3 is follow-up questions based on the cue card. In most cases, general questions are going to be about you. So your study, your work, your society, your country, your hobbies, your interests. So sort of those questions. In the cue card, they will be giving you a specific topic, and you have 1 minute to prepare for the topic, and then your answer has to be between 1 to 2 minutes. And following that is the follow-up questions. These questions are based on the topic of your cue card, so they would be related to your cue card. Now the scoring of IELTS speaking, to sum it all up, is basically based on your representation of the level of language. So how well you can represent your level of English. And this includes your fluency, your vocabulary, your grammar accuracy and grammar range, and how appealing your content is to the examiner. So basically how well you can represent your level of the language. So what is it exactly that you should do to get a good score in the test? Now the first tip I have for you guys is to expand your answers. Elaborate everything that you possibly can. Now let me illustrate this by an example. Let's say they are asking you a question, what do you like about your hometown? And your answer is, I like the weather of my hometown. Now, consider this as an answer, and now I'm going to give you another answer. The thing that I like best about my hometown is the weather. Although it might get hot during the days, in the evening you can feel a cool, subtle breeze. Also, it rains quite often in my hometown, and due to this, a lot of trees and plants grow in my area, which is why it has been labeled the city beautiful. Now guys, you see the difference between these two answers. Go back in the video and play it again if you would like to, but see how well the language is represented in the second answer compared to the first answer. The first answer was just simply one single line, whereas the second answer we expanded on the same topic and said a bit more in a better way. So always expand your answers if possible. Remember, what would be your level of language if you were not able to explain something well? Discover the strategies, methods, tips, and insider secrets to crack your exam from the comfort of your home with the minimum amount of effort, time, and hassle. Join our one-on-one classes with flexible and convenient timings, and by only spending 2 hours per day, you can achieve and even exceed your expectations like these students. If you are serious about getting good scores, and especially if your exam is close, stop wasting time looking for a quick fix. Start your classes with us today so we can put you on the right track to success. Enroll in our course by contacting joyjeetsingh1@gmail.com, that's the email address on the screen, for step-by-step guidance on exactly what to expect and how to prepare for your test. We also have a 100% money-back guarantee if you don't pass your exam, provided you follow the teacher's advice and attend classes regularly. Remember, we want you to succeed. That is the whole point of why we do what we do. Now, number 2 is to structure the answer of your cue card. This is specifically for the cue cards. Structure your answer for the cue cards into a story. What I mean by that is, there should be a beginning to your answer. It should be starting at some point and it should be ending at some point. I'll give you an example so you can understand this concept better. Let's say my cue card topic is to describe a subject taught in my school. In this case, just don't simply go to the main point of your answer. So, for example, a subject that was taught in my school was mathematics. I hated this subject because it was complex and difficult. Now, see, when you start at the core, at the heart of your answer, if you start at that very point, you will not have very much to talk about. So, don't simply go on to the main point, not the main target. Revolve around the answer. You can start with something like, although it's been a long time since I passed out from my school, I still vividly remember the subjects and the teacher who were teaching those subjects. Now, I was not a bright student and I did not like to go to school very much because most of the stuff they were teaching, I found it quite boring. School time was more or less a punishment for me because I pretty much had to go there because of my parents, sit through the whole 8-9 hours and then come back home. Due to my this attitude towards studying, most of the subjects I did not score very well in, and I found most of them either boring or not applicable in the real life world. But a subject that I found very interesting and the one that engaged me the most was chemistry. So in this answer, if you notice, I have not started at the core of the answer. I have not gone straight after chemistry. I'm starting with something relative to the school and the subjects, and this is something you should do too. So start with an introduction which is related to the subject but not exactly on the subject. So start with something and lead towards your topic. So this beginning is what I like to call the introduction. In the introduction, you simply talk about something that is relevant to the topic, that is relevant to the subject, but it's not exactly on the topic. It's not exactly the heart, the core of your topic. After the introduction, on the second part, now you can begin talking about the subject. Let's say in this case, because I chose chemistry. So at this stage, now I would talk about the subject, that is chemistry. Now, here you can say why you like this subject, or why even you disliked it, why you are talking about this specific subject compared to all the other ones that were being taught, what you learned from the subject that was applicable in life for, and so on. Now, I'll give you an example. The reason I would like to talk about chemistry is although it is very complicated and not so easy to get your hands on, my teacher turned all those complex equations into simple, basic English words which students of our level could understand. This is why I like this subject very much. Due to chemistry, I was able to understand a lot of the phenomenon that we normally ignore in day-to-day lives, like why is the color of sky blue? Why do things feel and appear a certain way? So, chemistry provided some answers to the real life questions that I had, which I was not able to understand prior to that. How do the elements bond? How do the chemicals react? So, chemistry gave me an overview which actually made some sense to me compared to all the other subjects which were talking about equations and formulas which were simply not applicable in my point of view. So I said a few lines about chemistry. I'm expanding on the main subject that is chemistry. Just talk about why you're talking about this compared to all the other stuff. So introduction, now I'm moving on to the details. Now at this stage I'm talking about chemistry, and the next part I will talk about is the teacher. So I'm not just staying on the topic chemistry because there's guys, it doesn't matter what kind of topic you get. If you're focusing on just the main heart, the core of the topic, you would not have a lot to talk about. So revolve around the topic. Now, because chemistry is a subject and obviously it was being taught by a teacher, so I can also talk about the teacher a little bit. So just to give you an example of what I mean, my teacher for this subject, chemistry, was the one who actually focused on what the students are learning instead of just focusing on what kind of grades they are getting. He was more lean towards what is it that the students can do with this information comparative to other teachers who were just focused on how well they can remember this just for the exams. He was the one who actually paid attention to what the students are actually learning instead of just cramming. And he was one of the reasons why I developed such a great interest in this subject. The way he liked to teach chemistry was more like a cooking show. So he would simply explain the ingredients and the process you have to follow and what you will achieve at the end. His way of teaching was very natural and something which could even be understood by poor students as well. So here I said a few lines about the teacher, guys. Remember, again, going off the topic for just a second. If you are only talking about a subject in the school, again, not a lot of content. But if you're going to relate it to some other topics, like here is the subject, I said some introduction, I said a few lines about the teacher. These 15 seconds for every single topic, chemistry, teacher, and so on, these 15 seconds each are going to add up to the 2 minutes that you are going to speak. Also, when you are asked to speak from 1 to 2 minutes, try to keep your answer at the 2 minute line compared to the 1 minute side. This shows the examiner that okay, this guy has got the capability to expand and elaborate on his answer, which is again a good representation of the level of language you possess. So guys, write down the highlight points of what you're going to talk about and then expand on each of those points. Now, I would drag on this topic further to the school and explain how the school, the other teachers, and the principal behaved with this teacher. So I would also explain that. Then I would mention how other students felt about this teacher. So guys, highlight out the points that are relevant to the question but not exactly on the topic, in this case which is chemistry. So I'm not talking all about chemistry. Chemistry is included, but the whole thing is not about chemistry, because if I was going to explain just about chemistry, I would probably not go over 30 seconds just on that one single thing. So guys, this is the way you expand your answer in cue card. You structure it into a story. We started with an introduction, then I talked about the subject, I related the subject to the teacher to the school, and then to the students. So I'm relating the subject with relevant topics. Now, if I was reaching towards the end of this answer, I would end with what I call a conclusion. In this case, I can conclude this topic by saying something like, in my opinion, more teachers like my chemistry teacher in the school should be focused on the learning and interest of the student rather than just the grades. So guys, this is how I would conclude my topic. So introduction, then go on to the main topic, then find out the other topics which are relative to that topic but not exactly on the topic, and then conclude it towards the end. When you structure your answer into a story, first of all, for you it is easier to remember and interpret. Secondly, it's easier for the examiner to follow along. Okay, guys, so this was number two. Number three is, in case you have this option, tell the truth instead of making up a lie. To explain this point, guys, if you are, let's say it is a cue card and you are given a topic, and then you have an option, either you can tell the truth, which might be embarrassing, which is something that you would not like to discuss, or you can make up a lie. Remember, you only have 1 minute to prepare your answer, and the chances to come up with the best possible story in that 1 minute, which is actually a lie, are quite insignificant. So guys, if you have the option, tell the truth. Remember, you are being judged on the basis of your level of language, not your opinions. So you can tell the truth, it doesn't matter. They're only focusing on what level of language you're representing. Also, something that I've noticed from my experience, when I take speaking tests from my students, if they are telling the truth, it's quite easy for me to tell, guys, because first of all, they are not spending a lot of time thinking about it or taking down the points. Secondly, they have a lot more to talk about, so it's easier for them to go beyond the 2 minute mark as well. Additionally, their answer is a lot more fluent compared to the answer they would have given in case of a lie. So if it actually happened, tell the truth. It would be far better than coming up with a lie. So guys, these are the 3 tips that I wanted to point out. Now spend some time practicing and learning these things. This one video is not going to solve all your problem for IELTS, so spend some time practicing. Also, in the upcoming few days, I'm going to make a video on the mistakes that you should avoid to score well in the IELTS speaking. So subscribe to my channel so you do not miss that video. Let me know in the comments what you learned from this video, and if you have any questions. Plus, if you learned something, like the video and share it for the benefit of others. Goodbye for now. See you next time.